1939 World Individual Speedway Championship, Part 6. Back in the studio. East 19 and 20 are the races we are all waiting for here in the studio, confirmed Keith Owen. If Wilbur Lamoureux wins Heat 19, then he has to hope that Eric Langton comes in second in Heat 20 and Cordy Mill comes in third. When he is in with a chance, then he is in with a chance for a run-off for the World Championship. There's a lot of ifs and buts in there though, said Chris Lewis. From where I am sitting, it looks to me as it's going to be a straight fight between Eric Langton and Cordy Mill in Heat 20. I don't think either of those riders will be thinking of finishing in anything but first place in that race. I agree with that, said Steve Johnson. As we know, you can drop a point or two early on in the meetings and things can still go your way. But when it comes to the last race of the night, in the end, it's all or nothing. Like Chris says, neither Langton nor Cordy Mill will be thinking of giving Wilbur Lamoureux an extra bite at the cherry. In other words, what you're saying, confirmed Keith Owen, is that Langton and Cordy Mill have no intention of handing the world title to Wilbur Lamoureux. Something like that, chuckled Steve Johnson and Chris Lewis in harmony. Your man Vic Duggan hasn't done too badly at all here tonight, said Keith. He's certainly one for the future, said Steve Johnson. Who knows how far he can go in the sport? Johnson paused. But of course, this war that's just broken out is going to affect the future of everyone of us before it's done. My belief is, though, in the natural order of things, that both Vic Duggan and Ove Lawson have what it takes to become world champions. There is a further test of Vic Duggan's racing abilities coming up in the next race, said Keith, as he is up against Jack Milne, the 1937 world champion, and consummate skills of the prolific 1939 point scorer Arthur Atkinson. Back to Kelvin and Nigel. I don't think either Arthur Atkinson or Jack Milne will be any more inclined to give points away to Vic Duggan, said Nigel Pearson, than Jack's brother Cordy Milne or Eric Langton are inclined to give points away to Wilbur Lamoureux. That's right, Nigel, said Kelvin, as both Jack Milne and Arthur Atkinson have an outside chance of a rostrum place themselves. Heat 17. Red, Arthur Atkinson. Blue, Jack Milne. White, Vic Duggan. Yellow, Eric Chitty. On the track, Jack Milne confirmed his desire to finish as high as possible on the score chart, flying from the gate in a controlled start, leaning hard on Atkinson as the American powered towards the first bend, elbowing off a concentrated attack by Vic Duggan. Milne turned through the second bend onto the back straight, Vic Duggan drawing ahead of Arthur Atkinson in pursuit of the 1937 world champion. Atkinson, refusing to be cowed, drove relentlessly down the straight. Milne made his turn into bend 3, Duggan diving under the American. Atkinson mid-track, turning into bend 4, thrusting forward out onto the straight in pursuit of Duggan and Jack Milne, crossing the line into lap 2. Duggan manages to hold off Atkinson's attack down the home straight. Jack Milne turning through bends 1 and 2, lap 2, entering the back straight. Atkinson finding grip, driving forward. Duggan blocking the British rider's charge under him, entering bend 3, lap 2. Atkinson applies more pressure, turning into bend 4, lap 2, turning in sharply, driving forward mid-track onto the home straight into lap 3. Duggan once again holding off Atkinson's attempt to get by him. Milne making his way into bend 1, lap 3, a bite length ahead of Duggan, who will hold back Atkinson, now making the turn into bend 2, lap 3, entering onto the back straight. Atkinson finds the grip, shoots past Duggan. Milne turns into bend 3, lap 3. Atkinson right behind him on the line, pressing the American, entering into lap 4, into bend 4, lap 3. Atkinson pushing under Milne, exiting the last bend, pushing forward onto the home straight into lap 4. Milne holds off Atkinson, a determined attack. The British rider forced to fend off another drive by him by Vic Duggan. Atkinson foiling the young Australian's attempt to take over. Jack Milne is driving smoothly into bend 1, lap 4. Atkinson able to mix it with the American, turning into bend 2, lap 4, locked together with the American, entering the back straight. Milne holds on to his lead down the straight, heading into bend 3, lap 4. Atkinson pushing under the American. Milne keeping tight to the line. Atkinson forcing the pace. Milne just as determined, holds on through bend 4, lap 4. Entering the home straight, Milne drives towards the line. Atkinson, with Vic Duggan almost on level terms, presses on towards the finish, picking up extra traction, passes Milne on the line, the American holding off the impetuous Duggan to take second place. Arthur Atkinson 3, Jack Milne 2, Vic Duggan 1, Eric Chitty 0. Arthur Atkinson's persistence certainly paid off in that one, Kelvin, said Nigel. It was a hard-fought race, agreed Kelvin. Vic Duggan gave both Arthur Atkinson and Jack Milne a run for their money. The other up-and-coming Australian, Ove Lawson, will want to show that he's got every bit as much potential as Vic Duggan in this next race, said Nigel. Lawson has Bill Kitchen to contend with in this one, said Kelvin, not to mention Alex Staden and Ron Johnson. Heat 18. Bill Kitchen in red, Alex Statham in blue, Ron Johnson in white, Ove Lawson in yellow. On the track, Bill Kitchen knew how vital the 3 points on offer were going to be to him in this race, making the gate alongside Alex Statham, who conveniently drifted right, slightly balking the drive forward of Ron Johnson, who pressed Ove Lawson up against the fence, the young Australian shutting off, cutting back in. Kitchen turned through bends 1 and 2, Lawson driving down to the line, splitting the Statham-Johnson pairing, entering the back straight, Kitchen blasting off down the track, turning smoothly through bends 3 and 4. Kitchen extended his lead on the home straight, Lawson crossing the line into lap 2, ahead of Johnson and Statham, locked together, entering bend 1, lap 2. Bill Kitchen exited bend 2, lap 2, comfortably pressing forward down the back straight. Lawson followed in his train, unable to make up ground on the British rider. Statham got the better of Ron Johnson, exiting bend 3, lap 2. Lawson exiting bend 4, lap 2, 2 bike lengths behind Kitchen, powering forward over the line into lap 3. Bill Kitchen made his way through bends 1 and 2, lap 3, emerging onto the back straight. Old Lawson, getting the bit between his teeth, picked up grip, driving forward, making up ground, pushing under Kitchen, entering bend 3, lap 3. Kitchen clamped himself to the line through bend 4, lap 3, refusing to give way to the Australian, picking up drive down the home straight, pulling away from Lawson over the line into lap 4. Lawson found Alex Statham coming under him, entering bend 1, lap 4. Kitchen exiting bend 2, lap 4, clear of the Australian, fighting hard to hang on to his second place. Ron Johnson coming round the outside of Lawson, entering the back straight. Bill Kitchen, head down, making a controlled turn into bend 3, lap 4, making no mistakes, turning through bend 4, lap 4, pressing forward to the line, taking a checkered flag from Lawson, a good 10 yards behind. Bill Kitchen 3, Ove Lawson 2, Alex Statham 1, Ron Johnson 0. A fine win for Bill Kitchen, Kelvin, observed Nigel Pearson. Very much so, said Kelvin Tatum. Kitchen was in control of that race from start to finish. And as the meeting stands at this moment in time, added Nigel Pearson, that result puts Kitchen level on points overall with Cody Milne. Pity it's not going to stay that way, World Championship winning-wise, chuckled Kelvin. Or it would be Bill Kitchen in a run-off for the world title. I don't doubt either that Wilbur Lamoureux will want to win this next race, ensuring he finishes ahead of Kitchen. But Lamoureux has the fiery Frank Very to contend with, said Nigel, and with Lionel Van Prague in there too, it won't be an easy race for either of the Americans in Heat 19. Heat 19, riding in red, Frank Very, in blue, Lionel Van Prague, in white, Benny Kaufman, and in yellow, Wilbur Lamoureux. Out on the track, Wilbur Lamoureux left the tapes, Benny Kaufman didn't get in his compatriot's way. He did lean on Lionel Van Prague, who was having none of it. Frank Bailey met Lamoureux as both riders made their way into bend 1. Bailey held tight to the line entering bend 1. Lamoureux tight over his shoulder entering bend 2. Lamoureux slid ahead of Bailey on the back straight. Bailey holding off an attack by Lionel Van Prague along the straight. Lamoureux kept to the line turning into bend 3. Bailey pushing under the American. Lamoureux not giving way, turning into bend 4. Bailey still pushing his way through onto the home straight into lap 2. Frank Bailey picked up grip down the straight, passing Lamoureux on the outside, cutting sharp back to the line, entering bend 1 lap 2, making a tight turn into bend 2 lap 2, with Lamoureux over his right shoulder onto the back straight. Bailey held off the American all the way to bend 3 lap 2. Lamoureux this time driving under Bailey, both making the turn into bend 4 lap 4, emerging onto the home straight. Bailey blocking the American's surge forward over the line into lap 3. Lamoureux finds Van Prague driving under him, the American balking the Australian's advance. Bailey making his turn into bend 1 lap 3, driving through bend 2 lap 3. Lamoureux picking up drive, shooting out of the second bend, Bailey outpacing the American down the back straight. Lamoureux pushed Bailey through bend 3 lap 3, the British rider staying on the white line. Lamoureux pushed again, turning into bend 4 lap 3, driving hard under Bailey as both riders picked up drive on the home straight. Bailey held off the determined Lamoureux when crossing the line into lap 4. The American once more pushing under Bailey, entering bend 1 lap 4. Bailey holding on, Lamoureux pushing through again into the back straight. The American picks up grip, thrusting him forward past Bailey. Lamoureux is cut into the line, entering bend 3 lap 4. Bailey's broadsiding through the turn, Van Prague cutting in on the line. Bailey sliding through bend 4 lap 4, driving out into the home straight, pushing level with Lamoureux. The British and American were neck and neck, driving hard to the line. Van Prague half a bike length behind the leaders. Lamoureux taking the checkered flag from Frank Bailey, who just manages to hold off Lionel Van Prague. Wilbur Lamoureux 3, Frank Bailey 2, Lionel Van Prague 1, Benny Kaufman 0. Frank Bailey just couldn't do it for Bill Kitchen, said Nigel Pearson. He couldn't do it for Eric Langton, and he couldn't do it for Great Britain. It's simply down to Eric Langton to his all for all of us. It's all on the last race, said Kelvin, as we all expected it might be. I know I wouldn't want it any other way, but the tension in the pits must be at boiling point by now. Is Eric Langton the man to win the world title for Great Britain, do you think, Kelvin? Asked Nigel Pearson. Is he the type of rider that can outthink the consistent American competitor? Remember one thing, Nigel, cautioned Kelvin. It doesn't matter how consistent Cordy Milne has been in the previous 3 world finals. He has never been in this position before, where he is 4 laps away from being world champion. In fact, Kelvin, continued Nigel, if you look at the finishing position of Cordy Milne in the last 3 world finals, he was going backwards rather than forwards. But it's forwards again tonight, Nigel, Kelvin responded. So the question is, can Cordy Milne make the quantum leap and take the world title, or will Great Britain have its first world champion? Is Eric Langton the man who can carry the Speedway torch through the dark days we all know are destined to come to the British people? Or will Wilbur Lamoureux get that second bite of the cherry, asked Nigel. I think Lamoureux will have to rely on Jack Parker and Eric Collins doing Cordy Milne and Eric Langton the greatest favour for that to happen, chuckled Kelvin. E20. Jack Parker in red, Cordy Milne in blue, Eric Langton in white, and in yellow, Eric Collins. On the track, all roads led to this moment. Jack Milne was deep in conversation in the pits, talking to his brother. Eric Langton was impassive, sat on his bike, talking to no one, contemplative, lost in thought, aware of the magnitude of the moment. Eventually all four riders made their way onto the track, slowly riding round to the starting gate, taking their time to prepare for the race. There was an eerie silence around Wembley Stadium. Some people suggested it was the ever-present threat of a German air raid. Others thought it was because people knew this would be the last sporting occasion of this importance to take place till the result of that other contest, World War II, would be decided. Then the tapes went up, and it was Jack Parker first from the tapes, elbowing Cordy Milne out of his way. Milne balking Eric Langton. Eric Collins passing Langton on the way to the first bend. Through bend 2, Jack Parker was ahead of Cordy Milne, Langton driving under Collins as the riders entered the back straight. Parker was in no mood to give way to Cordy Milne, outpacing the American down the back straight. Parker turned into bend 3, Milne right behind him on the line. Langton poised mid-track, waiting patiently for the way through to open up before him. Milne not inclined to leave the door open for Langton. Parker drove through bend 4 onto the home straight into lap 2. Milne tucked in tight behind him, Langton over Milne's right shoulder as they passed through bends 1 and 2, lap 2, onto the back straight. Parker made no mistakes riding through bends 3 and 4, lap 2. Cordy Milne remained on Parker's back wheel down the home straight into lap 3, the spectators in the crowd getting more and more vocal at every turn of the riders' wheels. Parker rode on his way into bend 1, lap 3, turning smoothly through the apex of the corner, exiting bend 2, lap 3, still ahead of the American, the fellow British rider, Parker's greatest rival. Out onto the back straight, Parker proceeded on his way. Cordy Milne, obviously content to follow Parker, full in the knowledge second place in this last heat was sufficient to give him the World Championship, just as it had done Bluey Wilkinson the year before. The year before, when if Cordy Milne had hung on to the second place in the fateful Heat 19, his brother Jack would have been the first world champion to win consecutive world championships. But he couldn't hold on, and he didn't hold on. Bluey Wilkinson had somehow found his way past Cordy Milne to wrestle the world championship from his brother Jack Milne and take it for himself, giving Australia their second world champion. But tonight, Cordy Milne intended being America's second world champion, last in that race. Heat 19 of the 1938 Individual World Speedway Championship was a certain gentleman called Jack Parker, and it was Gentleman Jack who led the quartet of riders into bend 3, lap 3. Parker turned neatly into bend 4, lap 3, catapulting down the home straight, over the line into lap 4. Cordy Milne still glued to Parker's rear wheel, fully aware Eric Langton was still a potent threat. Eric Langton followed Parker and Cordy Milne through bend 1 and 2, lap 4. Eric Langton, the first Englishman to win the Star National Speedway Championship final in 1932, a consistent performer, runner-up in 1934, fourth in 1935. Parker raced down the back straight, Star National Speedway Championship final winner in 1934, Eric Langton's nemesis that night. Jack Parker, Eric Langton's greatest rival, made a smooth turn into bend 3, lap 4, followed closely by Cordy Milne, the brother who cost the brother a second world championship. Jack Parker, of who some said was the greatest speedway rider Great Britain had ever produced, turned gracefully into bend 4, lap 4, followed by Cordy Milne. Cordy Milne, the American rider, fourth in the first world final 1936, third in the second world final 1937, fifth equal with Bill Kitchen in the 1938 world final. Cordy Milne straightened up, exiting bend 4, lap 4. Eric Langton drove under the American, entering the home straight. Langton, who had found himself in a run-off to be the first ever World Speedway champion with Van Praagh back in 36. Eric Langton, who broke the tapes, who was allowed to take part in the run-off, nonetheless beaten by Van Praagh, a disconsolate, dejected runner-up. Eric Langton waited for his moment, picked up traction from a rich seam of dirt that propelled him forward on the inside of Cody Milne, each rider giving their all, driving forward into the line. Jack Parker saluting the crowd, taking the flag. Langton's got himself a run-off for the 1939 World Championship. Kelvin yelled down the microphone. Wilbur Lamoureux was seen biting hard on his knuckles in the pits, a wry smile on his face as Eric Langton shook hands with Cody Milne as both riders made their way off the track. Jack Parker 3, Eric Langton 2, Cody Milne 1, Eric Collins 0.